Hello, welcome to Chapter 7, Section 4. Today we're going to be talking about some of the concerns and conservation efforts being made associated with energy and energy production. So to start off with, the simple fact is we may have already used up around half of the Earth's oil. Now, keep in mind we've had limited oil use for a while now, but a few hundred years is maybe 1,000. It's not that long, in all things considered. So, the idea that half is gone means that we have a larger population. We're going through oil faster now than we certainly did a couple hundred years ago, and this is a concerning trend. We have problems with mining. The whole process involves noise and air pollution, water contamination. As we see in that second picture down at the bottom, surface mining is going to lead to erosion. In some areas, when you remove enough material, you can actually lead to them to sink or subside. You can get sinkholes out of some of these operations. So let's see, coal mines catch on fire. Those fires can go for decades or centuries. They've got a source of material to burn, and they just keep going. So going across the bottom of the pictures here, we could be looking at gas shortages if we don't find alternate sources of energy, water contamination, sinkholes, development, land surface disruption, and fires that we cannot put out. So ideas with all of this are there are some concerns associated with the energy resources that we currently use and exploit. People are working on solutions. Certainly mining, they've come under heavy fire. Back in the 60s and 70s, the whole environmental movement really started working, started moving, and they started imposing mining regulations. These were laws that helped prevent contamination. Some of them involved air quality, some were based on water or soil contamination, but at the end of the day, all of them were in an attempt to help protect the earth, and all of them are in compliance with the Endangered Species Act. Sometimes it is easier to get people behind a cause when they see animals or something that they can relate to. So endangered species plugged in well here, and everything kind of came together, that general tie-in. One of the things that they've started requiring is reclamation, especially for surface mining. If you look at the before and after pictures down here, in surface mining, they will remove the top. They'll remove the soil, they'll remove the grass and the trees, and then they get to whatever it is they're going after. They make these huge piles of rock and topsoil that have been pushed off to the side. Well, it used to be that they're left. They didn't do anything else with them. They just put them there and went on. Well, now they're required to go back and try to fix things. It's not perfect. It doesn't go back exactly the way it was, but if you see the before and after, it's quite a bit of change. It does help reduce environmental impacts. The soil's back, we get trees, erosion is prevented at some level, so things are better than they could be. Emissions, air quality is a huge concern. Burning fossil fuels creates air pollution. There's no way around this. They're the compounds that are involved, especially with coal, but even oil and petroleum and gas, they all have emissions. If you look at coal, part of what it puts out is sulfur. So it comes in different forms, but sulfur dioxide is one of them. When it gets into the atmosphere, it reacts with water, and the end result is something called H2SO4. That's sulfuric acid. So it's raining acid from the sky. This is where we get the idea of acid rain. The pictures down here in the bottom shows a little bit of a schematic or a drawing that smokestacks coming up, it's putting everything up into the atmosphere, and then the rain's coming down and destroying things. Well, maybe it's overly dramatic, but if you look here to the right, this is actual damage done by acid rain. As you can see, stripped all of the leaves off the trees, killed a lot of the grass. A lot of these are dead and dying, and it's a real thing. Things have gotten better. We've imposed emissions testing. They're looking at how much air pollution is entering the atmosphere. A lot of states do this for vehicles. Their emissions testings go into power plants and different facilities and factories, and that's helped. Things are getting better. Acid rain is not the problem that it once was, but it's still a concern. Conservation is another way that we've attempted to start taking a little bit better care of our environment. So we're trying to prevent the loss of natural resources. We're trying to facilitate people using the resources wisely. We're trying to extend the life of these resources. And simple fact is sometimes you have a lot of some things, sometimes you don't have as much of others. Sometimes that there's a limited quantity and there is no replacement. So as we continue to increase our demands, we've got to do a better job of utilizing the resources we have, of conserving the minerals, conserving the metals and the ores. And we go at this a couple different ways. One is recycling. So using something more than once. We see pretty common examples here of iron, copper, aluminum, glass. A lot of metals get recycled, a lot of glass gets recycled. If you look at the energy required, it does have energy costs. It takes some energy, but it's less than having to mine and manufacture. If you'll notice on this list, cardboard and paper are not here. It takes more energy to clean the cardboard and the paper and break it down and reuse it than it does to create new paper, new cardboard. So I left that off the list intentionally here because there are some concerns there. If you're looking at total net energy and fossil fuel usage, it actually requires less to make new. But again, that's the difference. Trees are continuing to grow. We're not continuing to get more iron and aluminum deposited at the rate that we can use as sustainable. Fossil fuel conservation is a great lead in there because it's all about conserving energy. We're trying to use less. There's a limited amount, and if we can use less, then they'll last a little bit longer. So steps you can take to conserve energy: insulating your house. Obviously, this one's a little bit outside of most of your capabilities, but energy efficient appliances are a great idea as far as energy savings goes. Things that you can do: turn off the lights when you get ready to wash either items in the dishwasher or in the clothes washing machine. Run full loads. If you're running partial loads, it's still using, even though it's got a small setting on there, it's still using more water. It's less efficient. If you'll use more, that'll work. Here in a year or two, as scary as that may be, many of you will be driving. So the idea, if you can carpool with people when possible, driving less. Not that it's a major concern yet, but maybe one day. And other conservation efforts. Things to think about: most scientists predict in a relatively short period of time, the next 5 to 10 years, we're probably going to be looking at a water shortage in some parts of the world. Trying to conserve water is going to be a pressing issue that many areas will face, especially as populations continue to increase. So water-saving devices, using less water in general, baths as opposed to showers. If you are taking showers, some of the lower flow heads and regulators put on the output on the faucet. When you water plants, you lose a whole lot more water during the middle of the day to the sun and the evaporation and the heat than you do if you water at night. So small little changes can help, but that's the general idea behind it, is we're trying to conserve the resources that we have. With all that in mind, I hope this makes a little bit more sense and you got a little more out of the chapter. I guess let me know if you have questions and we'll go from there.